Jean, and Montana. Look at you guys.
Try not to.
You know,
Don't look too close.
Yeah, look too close.
oh my God, how exciting, ladies. We've been waiting a long time to have this duo today. So what an honor. We celebrate you guys today and the wonderful new self-titled album, of course. What an album. Good to see you both.
Thank you.
Yeah, good to see you again.
Absolutely, Linda Jean. Good to see you as well. And by the way, you guys are doing it. Great albums, great songs. I remember watching you. When I was thinking, when was the first time that I saw you guys? It was one of the first shows when the world opened back up, early 2021 at the Basement East. My God, I didn't know that you could turn fiddle and banjo into something that sounded like stadium rock. You know what I mean? It was very awesome.
That was a good show. That was a really we signed with La Honda Records sometime during the pandemic, and that was a show with Vincent Neil Emerson and Riddy Armin, who are our label mates. And I guess that was I know that was the first time that we met Riddy, and it was only maybe the second time that we had met Vincent. So that was a really special night to have like most of the La Honda team there.
It was a special night, Montana. And by the way, we're recording this mid-morning. I mean, for my audio audience, they can't see them, but Linda, Jean, and Montana are like comfortable in pajamas. Do you guys go to bed super early, or have you like been up all night? Like, what is the approach for Linda and Montana? Are we early people, or do we function better at night like rock stars?
I love the morning. But it's really hard for me to see it these days. Because I'm a very sleepy person. I require about 12 hours for me to function at a normal rate. I can't do much other than sleep and take care of the animals and write some songs. So I hope that's good enough for everybody else, because that's about all you can do.
What about you? You share that?
I'm like a middle of the road kind of person. I go to bed sometime between 10 and 1 a.m.
Nice.
And I'm usually up by sometime between 8 and 10. Usually about 8:30 or 9 is when I get up. So I'm not a super early morning person, but my mom, oh my God, when I was a kid, when I was like a teenager, I would sleep till 1 or 2 o'clock every day. And I just remember, like, it stuck in my head, and I catch myself. I even say it to Linda sometimes. I'm like, you just gonna waste the day away if you just lay in bed. You're wasting the day if you're just gonna lay in bed all day. It's instilled in me now, and I love it and hate it at the same time.
I hear that, but I'm with Linda. As I've gotten older, I've become like, some of these shows in Nashville, they start at 11 o'clock at night. I'm like, look, I love you, but like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, it's really takes a toll on me. But my God.
I require a lot more. I've always required a lot of sleep, but I've required more these days. And I don't sleep well either anymore. I guess that's another like product of being older. And so I go to sleep at about 3 or 4 in the morning, and then I force myself up between about 9. And then I usually try to take a nap somewhere in the middle of the day. Like, I don't think I could ever have kids, because I am so tired. I would be mean as hell. I'd be the meanest mom to ever walk the earth, because I don't get enough sleep.
Your kids would be putting the mom to nap time.
I have a lot of responsibilities. Yeah, they would have to nap, or I'd have to give them away. I couldn't.
Oh my God. Too funny, Linda Jean. And by the way, guys, I mean, you guys are amazing in so many ways, but one of the beautiful things about you is your generous and kind heart. And this is like well known in the industry. I mean, the fact that, after the Eastern Kentucky floods, for example, you guys were so floored, and so many in your world were affected. I mean, the images, of course, were very upsetting. Our good friend Britt Taylor as well, she was very upset. I know you guys felt helpless, but you did spread links and consciousness and everything you could do. How are things developing, Montana and Linda? Like, now that the cameras are gone, like, what's like the current situation?
The people are still very much in need, specifically monetarily. If anybody has any extra money to give, the EKY Mutual Aid, if you can find it on Facebook, you can find it on Instagram. They have all the cash apps. They're very easy to get money to. There's I mean, there was almost 1,000 homes completely destroyed, and there was several thousand that have been affected and suffered damages and bad damages, but not totally irrevocable. But there's also a big need for volunteers. There's still a lot of cleanup to be happening, because not only did the flood affect so much, but the flood has left it open to electrical fires and mudslides. And so now people are dealing with that. It's just as nasty, it's just as ugly and brutal, but people have kind of let it go to the wayside.
Right.
Montana is in part with a nonprofit. She's a big part of their community called Appalachians for Appalachia. And so I encourage everybody to follow along with them to stay up to date on everything as well. That's a very good resource for what is actually happening, and the best ways to help that aren't just kind of like the back alley ways of helping. Like, these are curated. You know that your money is going to the right place to really help people.
Absolutely. So we'll put the links in the description here. But yeah, go ahead, Montana.
Oh, I was just going to add, I read something just this morning, a friend who has been on the ground and works in a lot of the nonprofit world in Eastern Kentucky, specifically Whitesburg. They've documented about 10,000 homes that have been damaged. So that's a staggering number. And, you know, these are people with full-time jobs, but they are so caught up and so destroyed by this that they can't help to see their neighbors suffering. And so they're going and they're mucking out houses, they're bringing food to people. None of those efforts have stopped. And it's been nearly a month now, and none of those efforts have stopped because the need for it is so great. You know, FEMA does not come and help you clean your house out. The Red Cross does not come and help you clean your house out and put your life back together. So it's been extremely encouraging to see the community response to pick each other up, because this is another disaster that gets lots of media attention for about a week or two, and then the cameras leave and people are still trying to piece their life back together.
Right. Very, very well said, Montana and Linda Jean. And we'll put all the links in the description below. And I definitely encourage folks to give what they can. You know, I know people need like all kinds of stuff. So, but yeah, for sure, guys. Going on a little bit of a lighter subject here, Montana. I don't know why we get into this in this show. I don't know why. Yeah, I asked Bella Fleck this question, but who is the greatest banjo player of all time? Was it Earl Scruggs, Roy Clark, Pet Seeger? Like, who was it?
Earl Scruggs. I mean,
Earl Scruggs.
Yeah, there's really not a good argument for anybody to say that it's not Earl Scruggs. I mean, there are banjo players who are technically better than him, like Bella Fleck. You know, he is the Mozart of the banjo, but Earl Scruggs had such a unique style that anyone who picks up the banjo imitates it at some point or another. They sample his taste and what he did and what he popularized. So the answer will always be Earl Scruggs.
I love that. And that makes me think, like, Linda Jean, like, for example, you know, the musicality of you guys, Linda, like when you were a young girl, Linda Jean, and you're trying to, you know, figure out how to be a professional musician. Like, what is the trick? Do you sit there, Linda Jean, and say, you know, listen to Tom T. Hall or Roscoe Holcomb and try to do like an imitation of that at first so you can learn how to play and then find your own style? Like, what's the trick?
I think the trick is finding people that will nurture your love and teach you the ropes. That's, you know, specifically traditional music. That's the best way to do it, is find somebody, especially if you can do it in person, or even, like, you know, nowadays you can use video lessons. That's become very demystified and part of certain people's everyday lives. I mean, just right now we're able to see each other. It's crazy. But I say the best thing you can do is sit down with somebody that knows what they're doing, and then have them show you a few things and point you in the right direction of people who to listen to. And then, you know, you learn the repertoire of other people, the folks that you admire, and then you learn to play that. But then there's a point, once you get your musicality and your chops up, after you've cut your teeth on what's already there, then you start to put that into your own voice. And you know how your singing voice is easily identifiable. When you hear Willie Nelson, you know that that's Willie Nelson, or you've been living under a rock, and or Dolly Parton, you know. But you can do the same thing as an instrumentalist, which I think is even more bewildering. You know, I can hear 4 or 5 fiddlers playing the same tune, and I can tell you exactly whose voice that is if I'm familiar with their playing. And that's what makes that's what takes it up a notch and gives the individualism that specifically traditional music has. Like, I mean, you could even have a Kentucky fiddler, a West Virginia fiddler, a Tennessee fiddler, specifically East Tennessee, a North Carolina fiddler play the same tune, and I can tell you which state is which player.
That's crazy. Wow.
The topography and everything that surrounds it, like there's different styles of playing, but and it's not just person to person, but it's your location that can influence it as well, which is really amazing.
Totally. I mean, I'm technically not like, you know, educated musically like you guys. And when I go to the Blue Ridge Mountains, it's like, it just sounds like the Blue Ridge Mountains. So 100%. Totally on that. And you know, we'll get to the new album. We'll get to the new album in just a second, guys, which is great. And I promise, but you guys, your musical tastes are awesome. Like your influences are all over the place in the best way. It's not just traditional music. You know, like you guys famously love like Wet Leg, for example, the English indie rock duo. And I was thinking, like, Montana, do you ever see yourself changing lanes into different sounds? I feel like if in 5 years the Local Honeys came out with something completely left field, like you guys can do anything you want. Am I right or am I wrong?
We hope to, we have that mentality that we can do whatever we want, and that's kind of good and bad, you know, pros and cons to that kind of mentality. But you know, we've had a lot of interviews recently, and you know, a running theme that has been, you know, what's it like being a woman in the music industry? And that's a valid question. And what's it like being a woman in Appalachia? And that's a very valid question as well. But it's kind of like we've never let things like that hold us back, because we don't want to. We think we have the same opportunities as everyone else. Whether we do or not, we're going to make those opportunities for ourselves, and that comes with music as well. Linda and I, you know, we've been friends for about 8 or 9 years now, and we've been playing music for that long together, and our musical taste matches up pretty well. And I think that's something that works beautifully. It kind of fuels our creative relationship and our creative partnership, because as soon as I heard Wet Leg, I sent it to Linda and she was like, holy God, I love them. And we were obsessed with them, you know?
Yeah.
And so, and same thing with, you know, British folk rock or Radiohead or Jim Ford or all of these other culminations. Like, we've taken little bits and pieces of those elements along the way. And because we do have a broad taste in music, I think that really makes for an interesting take on what we do, because I can tell you right now, we are traditional artists because that's how we learned how to play, and that's kind of the repertoire that we really studied. But we don't just drive around and sit around and listen to fiddle tunes, you know. We're listening to lyrics, we're listening to musical scores and stuff like that, like all kinds of different things. And I think that well rounds us. So yeah, I mean, we do plan
Sky's the
on
limit.
exploring music because it's so fun. you know?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
But for my audience, by the way, there, if you guys are interested in seeing Montana with no voice singing "Wet Leg" at the top of your lungs, there is a clip around that somewhere online. You're gonna have to find it. Sorry, go ahead, Linda.
There's something, you know, I like the way that Montana said the idea of it. Our musical tastes have broadened our sound and give us the opportunity to do what we do right now. But that's not to say that we don't love to take a deep dive into something. Like specifically with the gospel album, that was our sophomore album. And that is an album that is just an exploration and a research project, basically, of various styles of gospel music from the American South. And we didn't even hit on all of them. That was just, you know, another one. Or we have a dream to do a children's album at some point, and
Cool.
take some old children's songs and write some children's songs, and ones that we've already written, and hope to put that out. You know, Tom T. Hall had a children's album. We would like, you never know, we might do a Western swing album. We love all the different facets of traditional music. And that's the thing about the umbrella of traditional music, is it's not just, it is American music, but it stems deeper from that. It can be blues, it can be bluegrass. I'd love to do a straight ahead traditional bluegrass album. I love old time music. I love Western swing. I love Celtic music.
Yeah.
There's so many different facets to this, and it's really fun to deep dive. You know how like, you know, Prince would have his like funk album, and then he would have
Sure.
pop album, you know, and like explore all these different things.
Yeah.
And I feel like that happens in the rock and roll facet a little bit clearer. But within traditional music, there is a freedom to move about genre wise, or explore other genres that are all kind of interconnected in a way.
Man, very well said, and super excited for like the rest of your journey, guys. You guys are just getting started, and we're super stoked. And you know, you guys are being so good with your time. So let's move on to the new album. But well said, Linda.
Okay.
Let me ask you about "Throw Me in the Thicket," which is the last song of the album. I love that song. Love the way the album finishes with this one. I mean, you guys just take us into the farm, meditation of death, imagery of riding with the horse, like the whole thing. It's like a really like spine tingling song. What goes into like the track listing, Linda? Because I thought that this was perfectly placed. Such an important detail. And I feel like with the gospel, you guys also rock the ending with like "We Should All Be Reunited." It's like you guys have a knack for the track listing. How does that work when you're putting that together?
We think of it as a journey in a way, you know, a roadmap of emotions and of storytelling. And specifically, this album is a storytelling album, and it's all original, except for one cover by one of our Appalachian Sheroes, Gene Ritchie. But that made sense to put on there anyways, because, you know, sometimes you hear songs that you so deeply identify with that it's as if that song is a part of you too. And that one feels as if it could have been written by Montana. You know, I love that about that song. There's a connectivity every now and then that you find with old songs like that, and they become just a part of you, as if you'd written it yourself. But that song specifically, "Throw Me in the Thicket," it sonically, it sounds like a finale. So much of it is about the finale of your life. And I thought sonically it worked best there. And this album was actually probably the trickiest time we've ever had trying to figure out where these songs work. Because, at least from my point of view, I don't think these songs necessarily go together sonically, but I think they go together within their songwriting and their aspect of storytelling. But for some reason, it just felt right. And usually we just kind of go with intuition at that point. We try a couple of different things, and then we listen to the tracks in that order. And sometimes something will just sound out of place. It's like, well, We need, I don't even necessarily know how to describe it. It is just kind of a go at intuition, but I'm glad that you identified with that, and I love your synopsis of that.
Well,
I'm not really, I'm not sure really what to say. You kind of stumped me with that.
It's
Well,
a great song. Go ahead, Montana.
It's just speaking on final wishes, you know, and everybody hopes to have their final wishes honored. And I appreciate you noticing that, because it was intentional. There's a lot of themes of death and royalty in this album. And we wanted to kind of tie it off with, you know, hopefully you get what you want out of life and you get what you want out of death. And our first album, I was thinking about it, you know, the last two songs on the first album are really heavily centered on death. It goes from I Love You, Charlene, which is a very heart-wrenching song, and then it goes to the final song, which is an a cappella gospel hymn that we do called Glory Land, which basically ties it all up and says, you know, your grief is warranted, but your friends who have passed, they're no longer suffering. It's a very, and I think that's one of the big reasons why we love gospel music, is because it is so much for the living, so much comfort in how to perceive grief and how to perceive death, and recognize that this is not a sad day, this is a glorious day, you know. And
Right.
that's just such a beautiful motif that runs throughout all of gospel music.
Absolutely. Oh my God, I could talk to you ladies for 17 hours. So let me leave you with this. Let me leave you with this, Montana. I mean, Better Than I Deserve, you know, it was, I think, the first single, and it's about your papa. What a guy. Orphan, U.S. naval pilot, war survivor. I mean, like, I would have loved to meet Papa, but just a beautiful song. And I guess the question is, Montana, you know, when you have a phrase like this, Better Than I Deserve, that he used to say, when do you know that it's the right time to use it as a songwriter? Because I can imagine you've had that in your back pocket, and I find that fascinating about, like, you know, artists like you yourselves. When do you know that this is the right time for you to, like, just take it out and put in a song?
That's a good question. I had wanted to write a song about my papa for a very long time, but it was very intimidating. My papa died in 2006, so he's been gone for quite some time, and it wasn't like I was intimidated, like that he was gonna hate it. You know what I mean? Like, he's not here anymore. You know, he's not gonna have anything to say about it. But I wanted it to be not such a sad, like not a sad song, but a celebration of him and what he overcame. And it was really a song that I wanted to write for my brother and for my dad, who were very close to my papa. And it was based on all the stories that I had heard them tell me, because I was the baby, I was the girl, you know. My papa didn't want to tell me war stories, right? Because I was innocent,
Right.
little blonde, curly-headed baby. And but my brother, who was a big history buff, you know, he was constantly kind of interviewing papa constantly about his service. And my papa said that phrase every day of his life. He really honestly did. And it summed him up in such a perfect way, because he had a life full of hardships and full of strife, and so it kind of skewed his view on the world, that he wasn't good enough for any of the blessings that he received.
Right.
Which really, it makes for a humbling person. And so I did have that phrase. It's always been circulating in the back of my mind, but once I connected that I could base that story and that song around just that phrase, that's when the song
That's when
came
it
together.
clicked.
Yeah, and
Unbelievable.
that song didn't take very long to write. Maybe an hour, maybe half an hour or an hour or something like that. And I pretty much had it where I wanted it.
Love it. Love it. I mean, ladies, you guys have said it all for today. Such a special time to chat with you guys, Linda Jean Montana. I mean, you guys are killing it. We're so it's great to see you guys grow and the audiences grow, and it's great to have you guys on the show, and we look forward to catching you guys on the road.
Thanks so much.
Absolutely.
Man.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Take care.
Can't wait to see
Take care.
you next time.